Hello, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Midlife Muscle and Strength podcast. I'm Mickey Kilmartin with,
JP Wiz.
and today we're talking about injuries. Womp womp womp.
We want to be better, not broken.
That we want to be better, not broken. And sometimes, even when you want to be better, you get broken. So
Yes.
we're going to talk about how you can fix that, and the mindset, the physical side of it, the mental side of it, all of it. So it's not going to be a very uplifting podcast per se. You're not going to feel great maybe thinking about injuries, but there's a silver lining because it's all about getting better on the other side, right, of injuries. So first and foremost, JP, have you ever been injured?
I have been injured. I wouldn't say luckily I haven't, it's not a surgery. I've never had surgery, which is I always knock on wood that I'm happy with that. But I've definitely had my tweaks and been banged up a few times. And I think it's derailing. I think not enough people talk about the mental aspect of being injured because you're so focused, you're driven to one goal, and then you're like, okay, there's this huge roadblock or it's stopped. And it's like, what do you do? It's like, I don't know, you're going as hard as you can. And then it's like brakes are put on and you gotta slow down a little bit.
I think if you're training consistently, or if you're an athlete, or if you're just a weekend warrior, 5K runner, whatever, and you're in the game long enough, you're gonna have some kind of injury. It's almost inevitable, right? Unless you're glued to your couch and totally sedentary, you're gonna run into tweaks and things like that. It's just part of the game. So I think, first of all, coming to terms with that injuries happen to everybody. Like, I don't know of anyone, right, who's never had an injury of some sort. If they were a CrossFitter, a soccer player, a 30-something dad who's likes to go and play soccer on the weekends, whatever, they've all had injuries. So I think step one, you cannot prevent injuries. Like, they are going to happen. But how you deal with that, how you approach it, and how you rehab it and hopefully prevent it, or limit the risk in the future is going to be more so the topic we talk about today, because there's no way me and JP can guarantee you'll never get injured if you listen to this podcast. That's just not going to happen. It's just not. I wish that was the case, but it's just not going to happen. So I think where we can start is, you just got injured. What do you do? All right, JP, you're in the gym, you're feeling good, you load up the bar, you go to do a deadlift, your back tweaks. What is your like very next move? Or if your client calls you, an athlete you work with calls you like, hey, I was just doing deadlifts and my back just went out. What's your move? Your next thing you do?
Thinking of that, it depends. Like, for me personally, where I am right now, I wouldn't say it's as big of a deal just because you don't have goals. Like, say if you're an athlete, like you're training for a specific sport and you're like, I'm a soccer player and I just hurt my Achilles. Like, that's a bigger issue, because I would be more concerned, not concerned, but like that person's going to want to get back to action quickly. And if they keep doing the same things to get there, they're going to get more injured. Like, they're like, oh, I'll try it within a week. Like, I would almost take more rest. As an athlete, I'd take more rest time focusing on other things, but like getting back to because you need your, ankle and calf for sport. It's like almost that recovery's more demanding. I feel like if I get injured now, I just stay away from that exercise and I'm fine. So it's like two different tracks a little bit. I've been injured as an athlete, like with my ankle, Achilles, for lacrosse. And it was like, I couldn't do anything almost lacrosse related for a while. And it was just like an overuse thing. So it's just like took forever to rehab it. Obviously you're in that college setting, you have a, recovery, you have a sports medicine room you're in all day, trying to repair. But I think it's just doing certain movements, slowly building into like trying to get back to on the field movements. I think is, getting back to that function is just takes more time.
So I think the rest thing you said is important, but like with a caveat. I think if you get hurt, I've been playing soccer on Sundays for the last 5 years and I'm 40 years old now. So injury is just like part of the game. Like every couple of weeks I have some sort of thing happening. I think yes, you got to rest immediately. Like at those first 3 days, like you don't mess around with whatever's bothering you. But then I think what can you do has to start to become like the next question you ask. Like even with that injury, like, okay, I hurt my calf. What can my calf do that's pain free, even within that first week? And then, like you mentioned, start working back towards like, okay, full range of motion, full use slowly. Because I think people's immediate reaction is like, oh, I pulled my hamstring. I'm not going to do anything that involves my legs. I'm not going to touch anything that my hamstring might, be involved with. And I actually think that's a mistake. And maybe that conflicts with your opinion or like some PTs or doctors. But I think actually like experimenting a little bit, even in the first few days after you get hurt, to like see, okay, like where am I at? Like what can I get away with that's pain free? So then you can start, that's like your first building block. And then from there,
Yeah.
you go forward and start moving on. So if you pull your hamstring and you can walk pain free, definitely walk. Like you shouldn't just throw on crutches to avoid any use of your hamstring. I think using it a little bit, as long as it's pain free, starts the rehab like right away. I think going sedentary and completely avoiding that thing is a mistake that a lot of people make.
Yeah, I think getting blood flow in maybe a joint above or below is always useful. Like I had a client hurt his back. It was his first training session back, and we just avoid hinging. So like he's like, I know hinging is going to bother me, so I'm like, oh, let's try some glute bridges. And he's like, that feels good. I feel my glutes working. I'm like, great, let's do some cat cows. So we're kind of like, okay, let's work the glutes. Let's work your upper back. He's like, those felt great. I'm like, okay. And then next session is like, let's add a little hamstring stretch in, and then it's like a slow progression just to see what's feeling good, and then keep going with what feels good, and then slowly adding other things in, just like you said, is the way I would investigate. And then obviously if you get to a point where they're like, no, everything hurts, it's like, okay, well, that's out of my hands. I'm going to pass this off to someone else. I think
Yeah.
trying to stay within scope of what you're doing as a trainer, I think is important. And I think a lot of like, I know clients have a ton of trust in their coach. Like I have people who trust me a ton. I actually had a client, he's like trusted me so much. He's like, I'm not going to physical therapy. I want you to rehab my ankle. I was like, okay. Like, and I told him, I'm like, this is not what I know you should go to a physical therapist to do this. And he's like, nope, I want you to do it. And it's like, I did help him and he did get back from it. Which like, I'm not trying to say I'm a physical therapist at all. I didn't want him to do it, but he's trusted me so much. He's like, that's what I want
Yeah.
you to do.
I ran into something similar with Justin, my shout out athlete I work with. He tweaked his back probably about a month ago, a little over a month ago. And we were, I was like, I'm like a wait and see type person. Like, unless it's a catastrophic injury, right? If you have a compound fracture, I'm like, there's no PT, there's nothing I can do to help that, right? You got to go to the hospital. But like, I kind of like to wait and see before I tell someone like, yeah, let's go get this looked at right now. Because, if they're making steady progress slowly week on week, then I think we're moving towards something, because a lot of people are busy. They don't have time to go make an appointment, et cetera, et cetera. But it had been a few weeks and he's like, oh, it's still kind of like uncomfortable. And I said, you know what? Just go see a PT. Gives you peace of mind, gives me peace of mind, so that they look at it. And if we're moving in the right direction, doing what we're doing, then we just keep doing it. And if we're not, and he's or she has other opinions, then we can just weave that in and incorporate it into our training plan, so that we're, making the right progress and we're not doing more damage than good. Sure enough, he went to the PT, who did a great job, looked it over and said, yeah, everything looks good. You're just going to need a little bit of time. So just keep doing what you're doing. And now, as of like this week, he's basically back, knock on wood, feeling about 100%. So like you said, talking to an expert or a doctor or somebody, if that injury is persistent and it's not going away, or it feels like you need a second opinion other than just your coach or programmer, is definitely something you should do. If you're feeling like you need that other opinion or that peace of mind.
Yeah, I think it's just identifying like, okay, is this a tweak? Is this I think as athletes, you kind of know how your body feels. Like, okay, I tweaked this. This is kind of like a pull, or this is like, oh, I need more than that. I think for our clients, it's just kind of helping them identify. It's like, hey, let's do a couple movements here. Okay, they're all pain free. Let's just rest it and do these other movements, and let's keep moving a little bit. I'd say the one one thing caveat to that is if someone doesn't express to you that they have a tweak or something's bothering them and they continue using it, it's like I see it a lot. Not to pick on like runners, but like plantar
All the
fasciitis.
time. Runners are the worst, man.
we, we love our runners. Or someone with like a shoulder, like it could be an upper body. Hey, I'm just gonna push through this shoulder issue that I'm having. It's when it becomes like chronic and it's happening all the time and you keep pushing through it. I feel like that's it's almost harder to recover from that when it's like consistently hurting you than it is from like, hey, if I just take 2 or 3 days to rest this, use some body parts around it, and then continue, like it helps so much more rather than just keep, exacerbating, the injury that you have.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, I love running and I'm going to continue to run, and whatever happens, I'm going to run till the wheels fall off. And it pretty much, the wheels fall off after a certain point.
Yeah. They're held together by KT tape in a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and here's the issue for me with that is I like pushing myself, and little tweaks and stuff happen. But when your quality of life outside of your hobby or outside of the gym starts to take a nosedive because of what you're doing in your training, and like you have trouble getting out of bed, or you can't reach over your head to get a cup out of the cupboard because your shoulder's so destroyed, and if you're a parent like you and I, you can't lift up your kid without pain or do things with your kids without issues, then you got to reevaluate what you're doing, because the whole purpose, right? We've talked about the bigger overarching purpose, especially as parents, is if you're doing this fitness thing, it's so that you can be a better parent. But if you're limping around and you can't run with your kids or throw a ball with your kid because you hurt yourself training, then that's a problem. You need to take a step back and think about how to fix that thing rather than just like mask it or put some duct tape over it.
Yeah. I think it's the people who chronically work out. And I saw it in CrossFit a lot with like kipping, pull-ups,
Shoulders.
kipping everything. Eventually your shoulder just like, if you don't have the strength there, they kind of, it gets deteriorated. But people keep pushing through that, and it's like, take some time off or go strict for a little bit or develop the strength. Like I love like, doing the accessory work for like your upper back. It's like, yes, we want to be able to get the skill of the kipping pull-up, but like it takes some prerequisite strength to be there first. And I would even say, like, comparing that to runners, is like your calves have to be strong enough first, or like your legs or knees or hips, like to support your body. So like maybe take a step back and like when you are injured, like we always say, like try to be, if you're plantar fasciitis is bothering you, maybe some strength training during that time where you're resting it is, and you're not bothering the plantar fasciitis, is a good mix. Like, hey, let me still work my legs. They're going to get stronger. They're going to be better for running, but I'm not just pounding the bottom of my foot, like, just making that, exacerbating that even worse. So some ways that, like, I think adding strength training into some of those things is like a good way to like not bother it, but also rehab it in a sense as well.
Yeah. And I also think the point you bring up is take a detour, right? Like, okay, you can't run, get a bike, get a skier, get a rower, jump on something else. You can still work your cardio, right? Okay, it's not running, it's not the same thing, but you can get some, cardio, and you can get conditioning in other ways without pounding your feet, right? And that's something that was really hard for me to do post CrossFit years. Is like I thought I had to do certain things, like fill in the blank, and then I'd get an injury or I'd get tweaks and still try to force that thing, and it didn't feel good. And then I came to the realization, like, oh, I don't have to do this to still get to my destination. I can do other things and work my way around an injury or a tweak and still get the stimulus I'm looking for, and like get there. So I think runners are sometimes shocked at, oh, I can get benefits from doing like a hard bike workout once a week and swap out a running workout. And then I actually feel better on my runs. I feel better on my other runs because I'm not so beat down. I'm not so ground up, and my knees and my ankles don't hurt from pounding the pavement. I get it. It's hard to kick that habit, but taking a detour around an injury can often lead you to those other insights and help you, get better actually. I had that experience when I hurt my ankle really bad early on in CrossFit, and I basically couldn't do a lot of like lower body stuff. And it was during that time that I learned how to handstand walk really well. and got really good being upside down a little bit before the era of when handstand walking and all that stuff became a big thing in CrossFit. So I was almost like ahead of the game just by coincidence because I had this ankle injury and I was learning how to handstand walk. So when it started to come out into competitions, I was like smoking people because I couldn't use my feet basically for like 3 or 4 months. So I think that's another like psychological or mental side of an injury. Try to look at the silver lining. Like, what can I get better at if I'm hurt? Or how can I change my training to get better and still get to my goals? And then all of a sudden you might learn a lot more about whatever your sport is, whatever your training is, and find that, you were, leaving a lot of stones unturned that, could have helped you out beforehand.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're, I think a big derailer for people is when they first start working out or they've taken time off from working out is starting back up and getting like a little tweak or like
Mm-hmm.
getting like just like off the couch to like maybe not even off the couch, but like they start a program and like week one's a fine, week two they're pushing it, and then they get a little tweak, and then it's like, okay, I'm going to stop the program, and then they go back to, you know, not working out. What kind of advice would you have for someone if they were like just starting a program and kind of like got a little tweak? Well, maybe the way you structure the program, or is it more the intensity that they're using, or what would be some advice you would give someone?
Well, my first question would be like, is it a tweak or are you just really sore? Because sometimes that
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Like where, like I think I pulled my quad and then it ends up just being soreness, and in a few days it goes away. Um, because a lot of times people who aren't are novices or noobs, to fitness, they're not in tune with their body as much, so they can't interpret what is soreness and what is an injury, so they don't really know what's going on there. But if it's not just soreness and it is actually a tweak, I think as a coach, you first have to like tap into the mental side of things and be like, hey, it's not the end of the world. You got this momentum started. You're starting a good habit. Don't derail yourself and get off the wagon. Stay on the wagon. We're just going to find a different way to do things. And I would almost rewrite the whole program, which sounds crazy, but if they tweak something, they might now have like, and they might be averse, like they might be afraid, like, oh, that workout hurt me. So I might rewrite that whole day where they got hurt or the whole program and just say like, hey, we're going to change things up because we know you tweaked your forearm. So we're going to change things up, and, this program will help work around that. And it won't really be that much different, but they won't really know that. And it'll just be a lot of the similar movement patterns, but with a different name, et cetera. Instead of a row, we might do like a cable row instead of a dumbbell row, something like that. And then just sort of work around the injury like I would with myself to try to use what got hurt up to like a pain point of 0, right? Certain ranges of motion. Isometrics are a huge one that I like for when I get injured or when anyone gets injured, to get blood flow into the area, but without the concentric or eccentric part of the movement, so that the pain is 0 or very low, and you're still getting blood flow there and getting the muscle worked and tendons and ligaments worked, but you're not causing pain. So isometrics, change up the workout, let them know that they got to keep this workout thing going. You got on the wagon, stay on the wagon. It's a good habit. You don't want to kick it just for something small. And then I'm going to be real with them and say, just so you know, like if you stay consistent with this, you're probably going to get hurt again, which like, I don't want to scare you, but little things like this are going to happen from time to time. And it's just part of the game. So just to prepare them like down the road, like, oh, like this little forearm tweak in a week and a half will be fine. You might like pull something else down the road that might take longer. So you really need to be mentally prepared for this, because it's a reality of being a fit and healthy person. If you use your body, sometimes things are going to happen. So like I said, rewrite the workout, isometrics, let them know the reality of how injuries happen and that they are unavoidable. And that the working out's good. Don't, just because you might have gotten in a car accident one time and a fender bender doesn't mean you'll never drive again. Right. So that mentality of like, oh, I got hurt, I'm never going to work out again, I think is a bad route to take for someone who's just starting to work out.
Yeah, I love the rewrite the workout. I think like mentally, it's just like, hey, let's just switch this up a little bit. Like, let's try something new. And I think that's like kind of just takes a deep breath away from them. It's like, oh, okay, like maybe it was something I did, or maybe I did push too hard on this certain exercise. So I think as a coach, that's a great like just mental reset for them as well. It's like, hey, new program, new me. Let's keep this moving. Yeah.
And to be honest, as a coach, I might need to reflect and look at what I wrote and be like, oh, maybe that wasn't good to pair those two things, or have this the day before. Or, I might need to reassess like what I'm writing for this person, and scale it back, because I thought maybe they were prepared for more than they are, and I got to change what I'm doing. Because we're not perfect. We might make a mistake in the programming, and then next thing you know, we're overtaxing the posterior chain, and that's what leads to a low back injury or some sort of hip, whatever it is. So, there's also some self-reflection there as well when there are tweaks and injuries with people we program or coach.
Talking about programming, is there a perfect track between like unbelievable performance and not seeing gains and like injury prevention in the middle, like, or not being injured in the middle? Is there like do you think you could train and not ever be injured and see results? Or do you think it's a fine line between like, okay, you got to push yourself and you're going towards like, hey, that might injure you a little bit more, but if you stay below that line of like, okay, you're not ever going to get injured, are you ever going to see results?
Yeah, is there like a threshold? That's a good question.
Is there like
I think is that the question every coach asks themselves as they're training, for perform. I think it's like there's two variables. I think number one is, every athlete's different, so like there's a lot of different things: age, sport, goals, etc. But then the other thing is like the variable you can control, I guess, and you call it a variable, or you can make it a constant, is recovery, right? As a coach, right? The individual, like I can't go home with my athletes and say, make sure you go to bed at 9 so you get 8 hours of sleep. But me as a coach, I can at least program like enough recovery within the week. And I made a post about this a few weeks ago about like high and low days, like within a week. I think it's really important as a coach and as a programmer to make sure that you're programming in a way that has recovery built in, and not relying on your athletes and your clients to have to like
do it themselves,
because they're not going to auto regulate that. Like you've got to have it built in. Like Monday's going to be a tough day. Tuesday's got to be easy on paper, right? Now, if they go out and have a few drinks and don't sleep well, that's not really on you as the coach. You can encourage them not to do that, but you got to make sure Tuesday's the easy day, right? And then Wednesday you can go higher, et cetera. So I think as a coach, programming recovery into the week is important and encouraging good habits. But I think some of the variables that help prevent injury are very much on the athletes, and you have to trust them as much as they're trusting you with the programming to do that for themselves. And, some people are really good at it and some people aren't. And some people, it's just, they're a victim of the world today. They work a lot of hours. They're busy with kids, and recovery is just not optimal. So, because like I said earlier,
I'd put maybe 70 to 80% of my injuries came from poor nutrition. I didn't when I was the best athlete, I had the worst nutrition. Like I eat better now. I still have issues with eating, but like when I was, an athlete, like I ate the worst. And I was just trying to outtrain a bad diet. And honestly, I think that led to probably more than half my injuries, just with not having enough nutrition, and working out as hard as I did. And then also the sleep factor, I didn't recover nearly as much. Like a high-low days would have been great for me. I felt like every day was high for me. And maybe it's just the intensity I brought to it, but I think also the programming that I followed, or the programming, it was kind of, I had blinders on. I think you used to call me the racehorse when I used to do programming, or workout. I just did whatever was written on the board, and every day was hard, and I made every day hard because I thought that's what would give me the edge. But in reality, it just led to more and more injuries. So I think that the nutrition, the recovery, following a correct program, I think those you could take away a ton of injuries by just following those three things.
Yeah. And I think it's also on the athlete. It's their responsibility. If you feel, because a lot of times you can feel yourself getting beat down or getting ground down by your workouts. It's you, as a coach, I need to know, hey, the volume's feeling a little bit high, or I'm feeling really fatigued. like I can program as well as I can, but I don't know all the variables all of the time, right? And I try to touch base with my athletes as much as possible, but I don't know that, like, oh, it's busy season and you're a CPA, so like you're up super late. Like if we need to ratchet it back, tell me, and then I will, right? And then we can make that plan together. But I think it's really important to communicate with your coach and say, hey, like these are bothering me. Like this movement is causing really like my hip and back to be tight. Like, okay, that's noted. I'm going to take a look at that, and we're going to try to address that issue, but also we won't do that movement for a few weeks so we can let that calm down, whatever's going on there. But if you just push through it, I don't know, and then your back blows out 2 weeks later, I have a big question mark. I'm like, what happened? Like I didn't know. I wasn't aware because you weren't hiding it, but you just weren't telling me.
Yeah. Do you think, like, I hear this with a lot of like older clientele or people I work with, they're like, I just want to use bands like for the whole workout. Like, what's your thoughts on like, okay, bands are very safe. And it's like, I think it's popularized by like TB12, like his thought process.
Pliability, dude. Pliability, man.
What's your thought process on like a TB12 program where like it's only bands, pliability? Like, do you think that's still like a sports performance based? It's funny. Like I would love to hear your opinion on it. Just where do you think that lies?
I mean, I go back and like we've talked about this. As I've gotten older, 40 years old, I keep bringing it up, but like I go back and forth. I just started like a new program for myself going into soccer season where the weights I'm like dropping the weights really low. I'm just using dumbbells right now. I'm not using any barbells. So like I go back and forth on like how much strength work do I actually need and how much, like what's the risk reward? So I get where people are coming from when they say like, I just want to do bands, because those people sometimes have come from like a heavier lifting background or have gotten injured doing certain stuff. And they're just kind of like, I don't want to go through that again. Like, I don't want to hurt my back again, or I don't want to hurt my shoulder again. I'm just going to do some band work and that will make me feel good. And I think that works for a while, but I think eventually you do need to like dose in some stimulus that's a little heavier than a band or your body weight, for bone density, for your muscles, for the hormonal, response that your body gives when you push, right? You're going to get some more testosterone and your CNS is going to get firing. So I think everyone's different. Like you respond really well to heavy weights, like especially with your lower body. My lower body is more of a like lower weights, higher reps type guy. Like I just feel better that way. But my upper body's the other way around. Like I can push the heavier weights with my upper body. So I think it's very athlete dependent. I would be okay with doing just bands like TB12 for like maybe a couple months, but then I would start to crave something a little bit heavier, something a little bit tougher that would push me, because I would probably be doing super high reps, and eventually that's going to sort of fizzle me out, I think, and I'm going to want more. So I think it depends on the person. I think you can get away with it depending on your sport and like what you're trying to do. But I think for long-term, like just general health, you can't just do bands. I don't think. I think you got to do a little bit of weight training in there mixed in.
I would agree with the kind of the wave, it's like kind of goes towards the season or how you're feeling or different times of the year. Cause like honestly in the wintertime, I don't feel as good and I don't lift as heavy. So that's kind of like when I'll use more bands and kind of open up that way, where the summertime is like when I'll crush it. So it's like kind of like, yeah, I think you have to, if you have soccer season coming up or you have someone coming up, I think it's interesting to think that like, use my like dad's generation, like Arnold was the,
the standard.
So like, that's like that. But my dad has done the same lifting program for the last, I don't know, 5 years. Like it's been forever. Like he just does the same thing. And I don't think that's right as well. Like even if you had the best program, this is the best 4-week program I've ever created, I don't think you should stay on it for the whole year. Like you have to wave in and out of it. I think that's like a key to, getting different stimuluses, and changing things up,
And avoiding injuries too. I think overuse injuries are often like the most common ones that you and I run into with people. And then also injuries caused by under recovery. But like if you do the same program if you're doing flat bench press with a barbell for 6 months, like inevitably you're gonna probably run into some like shoulder issues or pec issues or bicep issues because you're just doing that same thing over and over again. So changing it up not only keeps it mentally fresh, but like your body needs a fresh stimulus because you're gonna run into impingements and tweaks and stuff from just doing the same exact thing over and over again. Same thing with runners. Like
Yeah.
if you're a runner and you're train, like you do a lot of your 5Ks during the summer, I think during the off season to like give your body a break, do some bike work, do some rowing, do some swimming, and you're still going to get conditioning in, but give your Achilles and your soleus and your gastroc and your hamstrings a little bit of a rest and your joints so that you, when you come in feeling fresher for your like 5K season or your running season, whatever that may be. I
Yeah.
think that's a mistake a lot of them make. Like they go in, the winter starts and it's like, oh, perfect excuse to not run. But they go into the gym and start just pounding the treadmill and running or running through the winter outside, which is just crazy to me. Rather
We
than
do
take a
we
little
do
break.
love runners if any running companies want to sponsor us.
Oh, for sure. I,
Feel free.
I have worked with a bunch of runners that I think but it's oftentimes talking them out of the craziness that they convince themselves
Yeah,
of.
stop running. Let's do something else.
Yeah.
What do you think about? I've had clients come in like with past injuries, and they're like, "I don't want to do any upper body. I'm going to avoid the whole thing altogether." And I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, but like, how would you like, encourage that person? Like, hey, you're going to lose all your function in your upper body. Or some people like, hey, I don't want to hinge. It's like, how
Hmm.
would you like encourage that person to like slowly do things, or is it just like a small dose?
Well,
Um,
I think the first thing I'd ask him is like, why? Um, so I work with a couple of clients, a couple of middle-aged women, and one of them has knee issues. Like their knee's pretty cranky, probably like a meniscus thing that she's dealing with. But she's like, I never want to squat. I don't want to do any squats and or like lunges, like nothing where like her knee bends because
right.
she doesn't want to feel pain. But I'm always like, well, what can you do? I'm always asking like, what can you do that doesn't hurt? And then we just sort of find that line. So I'm always trying to find like, where's the line I can get to where it's pain free, and then start there, and then see if we can move the line even just a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
so I'll have her do box squats, or I'll have her do like, all right, you can't do a lunge, but what about like a split squat where both feet are elevated so your knee never touches the floor, or so trying
Like
to
even like a seated leg extension with nothing.
yeah, just
Like, does that
use
bother
your
you?
legs. Yeah, exactly. It's like, so my first question is like, why or what happened? And then I'm like, well, what can we do? I always like to look at the what is available rather than like this is off limits, the like the negative view of it.
Yeah.
And the other part I try to convince them of is like, you need like your whole body. You can't just like shut down your body, like a part of your body because there's an injury there. And if it's really serious, like, do you need to go get surgery? Like, should you go get your knee scoped? Should you go to PT and get an MRI maybe to see what's going on there rather than just totally avoid something? So I think avoidance, I always try to tell people like avoidance doesn't make it go away. It makes it dormant until you wake it back up again doing something else, right? Like
Right.
your knee's going to hurt. Like, so whether it's sitting down on the toilet or sitting on getting up out of your chair, like that's the knee's there. It's going to be used. So you might as well try to make it capable as possible. But yeah, I do see that people are like, I had this injury, like, so I never want to do this movement again. Like, well, okay, we don't have to do that movement, but can we do something similar with a similar movement pattern so
Right.
that you don't like lose that ability?
Yeah, I think it's important to keep your whole body moving. Like, but it just meet them where they are, like in that moment, and obviously like I try to express to them like quality of life. Like if someone's like, I don't want to do anything with my knee, it's like, well, what's that going to look like in 10 years from now? Like,
Yeah.
and you want to like be, walking up the stairs with your grandkid, like you're going to say like, I don't want to use my knee. And it's like, so you kind of like, hey, let's slowly build towards this. It's not something we have to like, only do a knee workout like every day and you're going to be super cranky and it's going to bother you. But I think you need full function. And then if it gets to a point where like, hey, my knee hurts that bad, like I suggest people like, hey, maybe you need to go get surgery to fix that. Because also like I've seen it with people, it's like, okay, my knee hurts and now my hip hurts.
Hmm.
So it's like it trickles to other parts. It's like I've been compensating the way my gait works and the way I'm stepping. So now my hip hurts and then their back starts to hurt. and it like all trickles down, like, and maybe they have a weak ankle. So then the weak ankle causes the knee to come in. So that's where like, it's not the knee necessarily, it's somewhere else. But like, as a trainer, you're trying to work around above and below these areas to strengthen. But then it's like, if this is limiting what you enjoy, maybe you're a skier, or maybe, this is going to affect you later on in life. Like maybe a surgery now when you're younger is going to be better than like 10 years from now when you're like, hey, everything else is messed up because of this.
Yeah, that's the whole topic that we didn't even really touch on, is like the injury might be stemming from some other part of your body. It might be a deficit in your glute engagement, or you've got really weak triceps, so your shoulders are taking over during the bench press, and that's why you always get hurt during bench press, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think injuries are also an insight into what's going on in your body. It's not just a flaw. It's like it's giving you signs of how the chain is not working properly from top to bottom. And oftentimes there's lots of things interconnected, and people don't realize it. Like, oh, my calf hurts, or like my lower back hurts, but really it's like, oh, you just have your glutes are weak. So, your back's doing all the work. Your glutes aren't turning on at all when you lift anything off the floor or when you hinge. So your back's doing everything. So
I see
that's
feet.
another reason injuries are important.
I see feet all the time. Like
Mm-hmm.
clients have like the worst feet. They like collapse in, and then their knee hurts, and then they also have weak glutes. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, your knee isn't hurting because your knee is like just a hinge. It's forward and back. It's like there's not
Mm-hmm.
crazy amount going on there, but like if your hips don't work and your ankle is really weak, like you're gonna be getting crushed there. So it's like
Yeah, because
you
your
can,
everything's caving inwards, so now your knee's trying to compensate in
and your hips aren't strong
directions it's
enough to
not
support
supposed
it.
to.
And a lot of the stuff I learned, through our guest we're going to have on in a future episode, John Marchese. He's taught me a lot about that, and learned a lot from him. And we'll have him on, and he can teach you guys. So, but yeah, I think that's a big one to kind of just see, what's causing this. And I think that's like, hey, it's not necessarily your back. I think people think it's my back hurts. It's like, well, you sit at a desk all day, so you're hunched over, and then your glutes don't work because you're sitting all day. Like, let's fix those two. Your back's going to
Yeah,
feel so much better. Or maybe your core is weak. So it's like, it's not where the pain is. It's like it's everything around it.
yeah,
Um,
and like getting to that root cause, I think as coaches, like, and people who program for athletes and individuals, that's sort of our job. Is if you communicate to us you have an injury or something's bothering you, we can try to then work backwards and say, oh, okay, that makes sense why, your deadlift isn't good, or your lunges are tough because your glutes are super weak, which is leading to that knee pain or ankle pain or what have you. So that puts another sort of like onus on us as a coach to help you solve that puzzle, rather than you just thinking that you have random knee pain. Like there's no such thing as random. There's no injury that's random, right? Like there's always a connection or something going on that causes it. Even if you can't, like, I want to emphasize this again before we get off here in a minute. Um, there's no such thing as preventing injuries. Like you're gonna get injuries, especially if you're working out an active person. But there's no such thing as like a random injury, aside from if you have a fall and there's like a catastrophic bone break. That's random in like an accident. But like if you hurt a muscle, or you tweak your bicep or something, there's almost always a connection to, oh, you didn't get enough sleep, or your nutrition's off, or your bicep actually isn't the issue. It's, your chest is super tight or something else. Like there's always a connection to something else. It's not just going to happen out of the blue.
I think as coaches, like a lot of times I'm just programming so you're like as bulletproof as possible, like the best foundation as I can. And then I build performance off of that. So even if someone's like, hey, I want to be like unbelievable, whatever sport they're doing, it's like, I want to be a lacrosse player. It's like, all right, well, let's get like the best foundation possible. Like, let's get your legs stronger. Let's get your core. Let's get your shoulders, upper back. Like, it's not even like lacrosse specific until
General
until
GPP.
GPP. So like I think people forget that as they work out. They think like I just want to look good. It's like a lot of people, I'm just picking on people who go to the gym. All the muscles in front do very little for you. All the muscles in the back that you don't see, upper back, lower back, glutes, hamstrings, hips, like those are the ones that prevent injuries and like make you bulletproof. And I think people just, they want their biceps, chest, core, quads. Like those are not as important as what's on the backside. So it's like
Yeah.
that whole posterior chain. One last quick question I had, maybe a little off topic, or not off topic, but same topic. But if you had a limb, say you got surgery on a right arm, would you do anything with your left arm, or do you just leave it, or your leg?
I've read different things about this and like anecdotal stories from people. I always say you use the other limb just because you're not using the injured one as much probably, or if at all, right? But I think you don't want both limbs to atrophy, and like you still want to use what you have. And there's been some studies that show like it's not going to like make, if I'm lifting with my left arm, it like makes my right arm bigger, but you're still going to get like the response with
synergistic response.
Yeah, you're getting the stimulus, and your whole body's taking on the stimulus. So like I said, like testosterone numbers will go up, and all that stuff, good stuff that happens from lifting weights still happens to like your whole body. You're just not targeting that one thing. And then when you do come back 100%, now you only really have like one limb that's catching up. If you don't use both, now you're trying to catch up both arms, to going back from zero, basically starting from scratch. So yeah, I think you use the other limb for sure. And you use the injured one, even if it's only a little tiny bit that you can, just so that it's still moving and staying active. Because
I think that's a piece people miss out on. They're like, and it's not necessarily you want to like see huge gains on the arm that isn't hurt. Like
no,
if your right arm hurts, it's not like you want to like hit a PR single arm bench press with your left. It's like just maintain it.
Yes.
Or like, it's funny. I saw Conor McGregor the other day. He was like sitting down. He had like a knee surgery. He was sitting down on a box doing ski erg, and he was going like hard. Like he was pulling like super hard. Wasn't using his legs. Like I think people you still have to train the rest of your body, even though you have an injury.
And I think mentally it's good for you to like still push where you can. Like it's really easy to just get totally, deflated when you get hurt and be like, I'm going to do nothing because I'm so mad about whatever it is. But that Conor McGregor example is perfect of like, you can still get after it in so many different ways when you're hurt that there's no reason to really like slouch. Yeah. Maybe take a few days off and get yourself, mentally settled and like understand where you're at. But then I think getting back in the gym in any way that you can after an injury is one of the most important things you can do, rather than sort of being bummed out for an extended period of time and just letting yourself slouch.
Yeah. So last kind of thought here is like, if you are dealing with like injuries, I think finding a coach who can help you or even maybe a physical therapist coach, someone who can like put the pieces together, because it's not by random accident that you're getting hurt. It's something that you're doing. Maybe it's a repetition, or it's something that you're missing. You're missing a piece of the puzzle. I think that's why like a coach comes in and can kind of like put those, okay, let's focus on a little balance with your ankle, and like, let's focus on this hip exercise, and then your knee's going to feel better. Where like you might, you might not understand that aspect to it. So like kind of finding a coach who can put you back together, maybe a little rehab. You do that, you kind of get stronger, more bulletproof. I think that's kind of what you're looking for, like in a coach or a programmer. It's not just, obviously performance is big, but it's like, I just want to feel good too. So yeah, find those pieces. If you're hurt, banged up, work through it's not where the injury is, it's somewhere else.
So if they want to find you because they want to rehab JP, where can they find you?
JP Wiz on Instagram.
And you can find me at the Dad Bod Chronicles on Instagram as well. On our next episode, we'll have somebody who can talk to us a lot about rehabbing injuries and getting people back on track. JP's good friend there. So we will hopefully hear from you and see you all on that episode.
Please, lastly, please like, share, comment. We love to hear from our audience. And
subscribe. Yeah. Yes. If you have a topic you want us to talk about, send us a message, email us, text us if you have our phone numbers. And reach out. The more interaction we get from our audience, the better.
Awesome.
Thanks, peeps.